Namaskar Sathiyo. Today we are going to talk about Confederation and Federation. What's the difference? What's the conceptual difference between Confederation and Federation? Many think that the Confederation and Federation can be used as synonym, but they cannot be used as synonym. There is some element of difference so far as the concept is concerned. Whenever we talk about the Confederation and Federation, obviously a reference is made to the US Constitution when US became independent in 1776. You all probably may know that the US got its independence from British Empire on 4th of July 1776, when 13 colonies they were liberated from the clutches of British imperialism. And since these 13 colonies they were very small and fragile so far as their national security was concerned, therefore they thought to come together and form a loose league of friendship kind of a thing, which they called confederation. So a confederation is virtually a loose federation, you can say, and therefore the constitution which they made was called Confederal Constitution. Now whenever you have this term confederal and federal, you should be having some clarity in your mind regarding how are they placed vis-a-vis the unitary system or unitary constitution. You see, in the unitary constitution or unitary system, you have one state and one central government, and that's it. But in the federal or confederal, whatever the constitution, is different from the unitary constitution in the sense that it has dual governments. It has two sets of government. One is the central government and the other is the peripheral government. Now, when we come to further distinction between the federal and the confederal, because in the federal also and the confederal also there are two sets of government. So the question arises that then what is the difference between when they both have two sets of government? What's the fundamental difference? So today we are going to talk about that fundamental difference between the federal and the confederal states. Now in the confederal, the arrangement is that some states, they by virtue of agreement or consent, they decide to come together and form a government of delegated powers, which we call central government. Like the Articles of Confederation created a United States in America, the kind of a loose, confederation, loose government. And the government that came in America during that period, 1777 to 1789, that was a government of confederation, and it was a very loose kind of a federation in which the federal units were very powerful, and the central government was a delegated government and was a weak government. And secondly, that all those the consenting states, they had come voluntarily to the association or to that confederation. It was not mandatory for them to be there. So the Constitution of Confederation, the Articles of Confederation, they were adopted on 15th of November 1777 and ratified by all 13 states, and it came to force on March 1st, 1781. And from 1781 to 1789, till the formation of the Philadelphia Constitution, this Article of Confederation or the Confederal Constitution or Confederal arrangement stayed in America. Now, if you look at the Confederal Constitution and the Articles of Confederation, it says that in the Confederation, each state retained every power which was not by this Constitution and Confederation, Articles of Confederation, expressly given to the United States. That means the government of United States created under Articles of Confederation was a very loose and weak and powerless central authority, which was a government by delegated powers, and the delegation had come from the consenting 13 states who had formed the confederation. That is one thing. And the second very important thing was that the decision in the United States Parliament, Congress, was to be taken by state having every state having one vote. That means the weightage was not given to the population of the state, but the weightage was given by the numbers, by the identity. So 13 states, 13 votes, and the decision would have to be taken in the US Congress. So coming to the main issue of sovereignty, that where the sovereignty lies in the sovereign in the Confederation and the Federation. In the Federation, we all know that the entity that is created, that is today the United States of America, is a sovereign state as a whole, including all the states, and states are not sovereign today. The United States of America is sovereign, but like Philadelphia or like New York or Minnesota or Ohio, they are not sovereign. But in the Confederal Constitution that was created in 1781 in US, in that constitution, every unit, all 13 states were not only autonomous, but they were also sovereign. So this is the fundamental difference, that in a confederation, the confederating units retain the sovereign power. That is one. And because they retain the sovereign powers, the central government is accountable to the confederating units. Central government is accountable to the states, 13 states which were formed initially in the United States of America. And therefore we see that number one, the states were sovereign. Number two, that because they were sovereign, they were very strong so far as the division of power was concerned. And most importantly, the confederating states in the Articles of Confederation in the US retained two very important powers. One was that because they were sovereign, whenever they wanted to secede from the Union, they could secede from the Union. That is one, that they could come out of the League of Friendship. That was one, right to secede from the Union. This right is not available to units in the Federation. And two, because they were sovereign, they had right to keep their militia, that means their military. And therefore you can make out the difference, that in a federating unit, and like today in the United States of America, the federating 50 odd states in the US, they cannot keep their own militia. They can have their state police, but they cannot keep their militia. That is the fundamental difference, that the units are sovereign, they can secede from the Union, and they can keep their army. But in the Federation, as we all know, that today, like the India or like US, to be qualified as a federal state, you should have, number one, dual government in existence, the division of power between the central government and the state government, and that division of power should be written thirdly in a constitution which is supreme, written and rigid. Rigid means that it cannot be changed very easily. It should be changed through the consent of the states only. And finally, that if there is any disagreement between the central and the state governments or state units, then there is a judiciary which is impartial and independent, and not only that, has the power of judicial review to give a verdict, give a judgment that whether the central government is right or the state units are right. So in this way, we can say, to sum up, that in the Confederation, the concept is of a very weak federation, with the state units retaining their sovereignty, retaining their right to secede from the Union, retaining their right to keep militia, and always keeping the central government accountable to them. These are the four main requirements of a confederal unit or confederal constitution, which sharply distinguishes it from the federal constitution. So thank you very much for watching, and if you have any question, you can always write in the comment box, and I will surely answer them. Thank you.